Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to East Gymnasium at Fort Lee High School. As today it's going to be a volleyball matchup between the DePaul Catholic Spartans and the Fort Lee Bridgemen. DePaul coming in 2-3 on the season, Fort Lee 4-1 overall. The Bridgemen lost their season opener against Fairlawn, but have rallied to win 4 in a row on the season to go to 4-1. They want to keep the good times rolling as DePaul comes in off a win of their own, defeating Holy Angels in 3 sets in their last matchup. On Monday, Fort Lee coming in off a two-set none victory against Ridgeville Park. They will be in their home black and DePaul in their road green. Jeff Brown, the head coach of DePaul Catholic, while John Ziemba is the head man here at Fort Lee. So the first serve of the day goes to the Bridgemen, and that will not be returned, as that's going to end up as a service ace for Bella Plouts. Sophomore giving Fort Lee a 1-0 lead. That goes too long. That goes out of bounds. It's now a 2-0 start for the Bridgemen. Two 2-0 lead as Fort Lee taking on DePaul for the first time since they met last September in Wayne. Dug out underneath and a drop shot. Opportunity kept alive, though, by DePaul. Popped up near the middle. Fort Lee will have to just be content with getting it up and over. Last year was September 21st of 2022. Fort Lee won 2-0, 25-16, 25-13. They made quick work of the Spartans. Over to the near side, a long volley here on what Fort Lee is hoping is going to be the third point of this first game. Kept alive by the Bridgemen. Miss hit that time, though, out of bounds to the far side, off of the hands of Kate Eno. And that'll be the first points here for DePaul Catholic. Spartans, as I mentioned, got their second win of the season. 3 sets against Holy Angels on Monday. Last season, the Spartans had only 1 win. They went 1-18 overall. Their lone win came against Clifton. So already improvement this season. Miscommunication as that falls in between a couple of different Fort Lee players. And that goes out of bounds. That goes for a point here for DePaul. And they've knotted up the score at 2-2. Serving is Riley Eustick, number 12 in green. As the Spartans just do enough to get it over with Yara Saba. Nice play there, right at the front of the net by Bella Foster. Foster came at it like she was about to drop the hammer and instead took a little off it, sliced it into the open vacated spot. 3-2 lead now for Fort Lee. At the net, little net front presence there, and it's a double hit against Fort Lee. I'll say officially 4 hits, so that leads to the point for DePaul. 3-3 your score. Service coming up now for DePaul. It's going to be Sofia Lopez, the senior, with 13 service points, 7 assists in the win against Holy Angels on Monday. Sent over to the far side. There's the hammer finish. Too hot to handle there for DePaul Catholic off the hand of Bella Foster. So that will be a lead now for Fort Lee at 4-3. Bridgemen took care of business against Ridgeville Park on Monday, 25-21, 25-15 in the 2-set victory. That was a bad service error that time. Naomi Kim was the one who mishit that one. Goes 4-4 in the course of this opening set. Foster, again, drop shot, diving effort that time to save possession for DePaul, who just get it over. Setting up again, Foster! And they're going to say that that was cupped underneath. So no point for Fort Lee. Instead, the point will go over to DePaul. It's 5-4. Coach Ziemba was trying to talk things over with the official on the far side. First lead here of the opening set for DePaul. That service a little too long. That'll go out for service error and a point for the Bridgemans. So it's tied up at 5-5. Since their season opening loss came against Fairlawn on September 8th, Fort Lee has won all 4 straight matches and have done so in 2-set fashion. In New Jersey girls volleyball, it's a best-of-3 format. And that's going to fall just inbounds in the back corner. So a point for DePaul to make it 6-5 Spartans. Kim popping it up. Schulman in front. Emma Schulman was trying to tip that one over. Good diving effort. There's Schulman again. Drop shot attempt. Trying to hustle that one down was Katharina Borisov. And again, Fort Lee not able to recover. Largest lead of this opening set now for DePaul at 7-5. Fort Lee is led by as many as 2 as they took an initial 2-0 advantage. There's Foster, and Foster scores it. Great accuracy along with the power as she got it just in front of that back line. Seven 6, DePaul in front. Glad that you could join us here on our first volleyball broadcast of the season here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. That goes out off of Fort Lee last, so another point for DePaul. The Spartans lead again by 2, 8-6. I'm Dan Long, joined alongside by Dimitri Nanis, our producer. Renee Matisic is our camera operator. I'm here inside East Gym. Low liner hit into the top of the net that time as Haley Skinner, the senior, was trying to serve that one. Goes for a service error instead. 8-7 lead for DePaul. So now the Bridgmen serve here, down by 1. Popped up, an opportunity here for potential offensive points, but that time a little too much power that time for Fort Lee. And Kate Eno, that goes out of play. 9-7 lead for DePaul Catholic, and it looks like a timeout's going to be taken as Coach Ziemba wants to talk over everything with his side. DePaul off to a good start here. They're on top of Fort Lee by a score of 9-7 as you're watching girls volleyball action here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. So we'll see what type of necessary adjustments have been made here for Coach Ziemba's side. Not happy with the type of start that his team is off to. They trail here by 2, 9-7. Fort Lee will get it over. As DePaul now setting it up to the near side. That one very difficult to maneuver. It caroms off of the backboard. Fort Lee was trying to get it up and over, but again, just a little too strong. Sonia Yurchenko, number 27, was trying to be that last one to get it over, but could not without ricocheting it into the ceiling. So the largest lead now in the opening set for DePaul at 10-7. Service error goes out of bounds into the Fort Lee sideline. 10-8, with service going back over to the Bridgemen. Once again, it's going to be Bella Plout serving, the libero. Sophomore at a season-high 13 digs in a win against Holy Angels, a common opponent that both of these teams had defeated this year. And there's another kill finished off by Bella Foster. Foster scores the point. Fort Lee back to within one of DePaul, 10-9. Out of bounds, that went long. It's going to be another point, so Fort Lee's gone on a run here to deadlock the score at 10-10. A 3-0 spurt here for the Bridgemen have drawn them level. Plout again serving. That time, good placement right in front of that back line for DePaul, and the Spartans will take back the lead at 11-10. Fort Lee with the left-hander, Morozov, eventually secure the point to deadlock the score at 11-11. Last season, Fort Lee went 17-9 overall, captured the Big North America Division title, finished perfect 8-0 in league play. This is a non-league game. Both teams in the Big North Conference. Loud was a little English on that one. Fort Lee trying to keep it alive and put themselves in a position to retake the lead for the first time in a while. Good block at the net by Foster. It ricochets. DePaul tries to keep it in play, and they do. What hustle there by the Spartans. Drop shot again, a diving effort there. Scrofani was the one, number 11, who kept it alive for the green-clad visitors. Long volley here for this point. Skims off the top of the net, just kept alive. Foster does enough to get it over. Still vying for this point and the lead. Foster tried the tip shot, and now that's going to be an opportunity for a point for DePaul. So it looked like Fort Lee might have been the ones guilty of crossing past the midcourt stripe underneath the net. So that long volley for the lead went the way of the visitors. DePaul secures the lead back at 12-11. Looked like Fort Lee was going to be zeroing in on the lead, but outstanding hustle to win that point back. Service error, and we'll tie it up at 12-12. So 12-12, and once again, a chance for the Bridgemen to retake the lead. Naomi Kim serving. Had the service error her first time. And that one goes too long. An intrepid stop you could not see to the left side of us by our own Dimitri Nanis. Cat-like reflexes. That was just for self-preservation fans that he stuck that right hand out and made a great save. 13-12 to DePaul, now trailing for the first time in a while. Fort Lee has retaken the lead. Setting up Foster. Ricochets into the ceiling again. Everything is live here. Setting up. No chance there for Foster. Just pushing in was Borisov. Now in the near side wing, Foster got a piece of it in front. She'll track it down, set up her teammate, and will score the winner. Jenny Lee, the junior, benefits from that assist. As being getting set up there by Foster. Lee finished it with that slice And it's now back to a 2-point margin, 14-12. Fort Lee, they tie their largest lead of this opening set. Fort Lee has responded since Coach Ziemba took that timeout to settle down his team. Good block in front of the net. It ricochets. Last touch off of DePaul. And Bella Foster is starting to take over this match. And I think head coach Jeff Brown feels that is the case. So he will elect to call a timeout as momentum is shifted in favor of the Bridgemen. Fort Lee taking a 15-12 advantage here in set number 1 as they're trying to go up 1-0 in this showdown in the Big North Conference as you're watching volleyball action here on YouTube. So out of the timeout, it is a 15-12 advantage for Fort Lee. The Bridgemen will continue to serve here with Naomi Kim doing the honors. Fort Lee trailed by as many as 3. They've now taken their largest lead at 3. Foster has that one actually blocked in front. That was a good block by Saba. And that is in on the far side. A cross-court winner there for DePaul. One of the few times that Foster was denied at the net, and then it eventually led to that cross-court winner for DePaul. So a big point there for the Spartans. Make this a 2-point margin in favor of Fort Lee, 15-13. It's the first of 25 to win this opening set. Borisov popping it up. Foster just guiding it over. Blount, get it over. Again, Saba's had some nice size in front. And that shot goes wide of the mark to the far side, so back-to-back points now for DePaul. Now the Spartans pull back to within 1 at 15-14. Foster. She's just got the misdirection. Not only obviously the great frame and the vertical, but also she has the ability to scare off opponents where they're expecting her to just hammer it home, and that time just sliced it and used the angle play to her benefit. She will do the serving right now. 16-14 the lead for the Bridgemen. Here's Foster. Setting up her teammates as that was guided back to her by Sarah Wong. Wong's been the setter in front. Here she is now. Popping it up to Borisov. The left-hander just kept it in play. Foster, Wong quickly tries to dump it over herself. And that time a little miscommunication in front of the net as that fell between a couple of different Bridgemen players right at the net. 16-15 now, the lead for the Bridgemen, cut down back to 1. Foster, too long that time, and now DePaul's got a run of their own to make this 16-16. Mia Frankel, the senior, has come into this match for the first time. She'll sit up in front of the net. Again, both teams have led by as many as 3 throughout the course of this opening set. Shulman could not get that return. Good point there, displayed by Emma Shulman, the multi-sport star here for Fort Lee. Junior had 6 kills in the win against Ridgefield Park. 17-16, lead back over to Fort Lee. As Sarah Wong will serve. And a service ace she'll dial up. Extends the lead back to a 2-point margin here for Fort Lee at 18-16. Wong with 3 aces on the season coming into play today. Add another one to her season total, and she's looking to do some more damage. Diving effort there by DePaul to keep it alive. Good play by Scrofani. Schulman again trying to get the winner. DePaul just able to get it over in their 3 allotted hits. And that's a good location on the drop shot finish by DePaul. So when Fort Lee was trying to inch closer back to a 3-point margin, DePaul makes the big save and pull back to within 1 at 18-17. Haley Skinner will serve. Little miscommunication leads to just the pop-up in front. Gives DePaul a chance to possibly tie it here. Nice play by Wong. Schulman quickly gets it over. Frankel scores the winner for Fort Lee. So just into the match and paying immediate dividends, Mia Frankel stakes Fort Lee back to a 2-point margin at 19-17. That's the lead. Fort Lee 6 points away from capturing the first set. Especially in New Jersey volleyball, where you're playing best of 3, it is so important to try to get that opening set. Service error there for the Bridgemen. 19-18, and service going back over to DePaul. Already the Spartans doing much better than they did last year against Fort Lee. They didn't score more than 16 points in a set in that 2-0 loss. Plout getting it over to the far side to Eno. That one goes out of bounds. Fort Lee lays off it. And now the Bridgemen close closer. It's 5 points away now from capturing this opening set. 20-18 lead for Fort Lee. And with the rotation, Schulman will come out. Foster will come back in. And Bella Ploutz will once again do the service. And Fort Lee, good job there, the placements. After both teams were diving and going low to the floor to save that possession. Another timeout's going to be taken by DePaul. 21-18. Again, this ties the largest lead of the opening set for Fort Lee, as the Bridgemen 4 points away from taking a 1-0 set lead here at home. Back to work goes the libero, Bella Plout, right out of the timeout, as she will serve for Fort Lee. Foster with the block in front. And the whistle sounds, and it will be a point given to Fort Lee. So initially it looked like it was going to be a point awarded to DePaul Catholic. And that it was a mistake made by the official on the floor, and he corrected himself, pointed the correct way, so a point is granted to Fort Lee. It is a 22-18 margin now, largest lead of this opening set. And Plout just floats it in with the service ace in the back left-hand corner. 23-18, Bridgemen on top. Fort Lee's gone on a run since Ploutz has taken over the service duties. And now it is at set points for the Bridgemen, 24-18 against the Spartans. One more point and they'll have their first set in hand. Plout that time will serve it a little too long, but they went on a run with her doing the damage. 24-19. DePaul needs to go on a run themselves to get back in the thick of things here. Popped up to the near side. Wong doing a good job of saving it, but once again, Fort Lee not able to get it up and over. Back-to-back points now for the Spartans of DePaul Catholic. (24-20). Plout will pop it up. Foster trying to win the set. And it's going to be a point. And the opening set awarded to Fort Lee. So the Bridgemen able to hold on there at the end after back-to-back points were secured by DePaul Catholic. But the Bridgemen hold on for a 5-point win in set number 1, 25-20. They'll take a 1-set-to-none lead and know that they take care of business in this second set. They will once again win in straight sets and improve to 5-1 on the season. So we'll take the timeout as they flip sides. Again, you're watching Fort Lee girls volleyball action here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. Welcome back here inside East Gymnasium as we're about to get underway for the start of set number 2. Fort Lee taking that opening set against DePaul Catholic 25-20. Bella Foster was dominant inside as she's been all season. Foster coming off a outstanding performance recently against Holy Angels. She had a season-high 21 kills against Holy Angels, a team that DePaul just knocked off on Monday in 3 sets. The Spartans, Catholic school from Wayne, they are in the green. In the black and orange is Fort Lee. Fort Lee trying to continue their recent run of just dominance. Fort Lee has won at least a share of 3 straight league titles in the Big North American. Like I said, they went 17-9 a season ago, and then obviously in that historic spring of 2021 when COVID moved the girls volleyball season to the spring, Fort Lee was able to win their first volleyball championship since winning a state title in 1988 in the Group 2 range. They went on to win the North 2 Group 2 sectional championship that year in the spring and bring a little hardware back to the trophy case here in the home of the Bridgman in Fort Lee. Trying to move to 5-1 on the season with a potential win here today. DePaul Catholic with a win. They get back to 500 on the season as they're currently 2-3. So the Spartans waiting for the official whistle to get us underway for the start of the second set. They will be serving to start things off. So now we get the whistle and we can resume play. Bella Foster picking up right where she left off at the end of the first set with a little drop shot to start off set number 2 with the points. Emma Sachinsky was the one who was serving. She's now subbed off the floor by Coach Brown. So service goes over to Fort Lee with a 1-0 lead. Borisov doing the service. That had a little heat underneath that offering. Did not faze Fort Lee at all. Now in front of the net, again popped free. Foster, drop shot, and that's going to be a point for DePaul, as they say that was a bit of a palming going underneath, cupped it underneath the ball against Foster, so it's 1-1 your score. Fort Lee began set number 1 with a 2-0 lead, and then both teams started to trade the lead. DePaul led by as many as 3 in that first set. And there's Foster depositing that one just in front of the back line. 2-1 lead now for the Bridgman. DePaul snapped a 2-match losing streak with their win against Holy Angels on Monday, the 18th. Other win came against Clifton in their second match of the year. Fort Lee rallying to the ball. Stuffing attempt at the net, and that time it went the way of the visitors. Good range over to the near side by Sofia Lopez. Just a meeting at the net. Everything kind of slowed down a bit too, and the point was given and earned by DePaul. That skimmed off the top of the net. Nearly led to an ace, and that time the shot attempt a little too long by Bella Foster. So DePaul will take their first lead of set number 2, now at 3-2. Wong tried to catch DePaul by surprise, and essentially she did so. Rather than doing her normal setting and setting up her teammate, she actually just went for it on the first hit. Snuck it over, and it dropped in front. 3-3 the score. Foster. That popped up by Riley Mendoza, number 16. That goes out of bounds on the far side, and it's now going to be a point in the lead back over for Fort Lee, 4-3. Foster again with the service. Low liner is saved that time by Gianna Nelson. Blocked in front. Fort Lee with a chance to get it right back over. Sent over that time by Saba. Borisov mishit that time. Junior mistimed her jump there, and it's now going to be a 4-4 score here in set number 2. DePaul trying to retake the lead. Diving effort there. Good job by Fort Lee to bring it back over. Now from the wing, that's a thunderous finish that time. Danielle Scrofani, the sophomore, with a loud yell at the tail end of that as well. She brought the hammer that time and it was not returnable. She gives DePaul back the lead, this time at 5-4. Mendoza serving, but does so into the net for the service error. 5-5. The service back over to Fort Lee. DePaul, after this match, will head home for their next 2 matches, and they'll host Wayne Valley and High Point on the 22nd and 25th. Miss hit as that went backwards, and DePaul not able to track it down, and that'll be another point for Fort Lee. For Fort Lee, they'll next be in action here on the 22nd of September as they'll host the Rams of Ramsey before traveling to arch rival Cliffside Park on September 26th. Fading away, just keeping that in play. Blocked in front of the net. DePaul's done a good job of producing a couple blocks throughout the course of this match. Frankel tried her best to dive to make a save, but could not save it. So the point goes over to the Spartans. Ties it up at 6-6, and a timeout taken by Coach Ziemba as he wants to talk strategy with his Bridgemen. 6-6 the score here in set number 2 as Fort Lee leads 1-0. So out of the timeout, 6-6. Here in set number 2, Frankel gets it over for Fort Lee. Pops straight up. There's a chance now for the Bridgemen to possibly retake the lead. But Foster mishits it. Too much air underneath that one, and it now goes out of bounds. 7-6 the lead, back over to DePaul. Spartans have done a nice job of staying close throughout the first 2 sets and not allowing Fort Lee to go on a trademark long run to really blow off the doors. In front, Schulman. Quick maneuver inside, and then it's going to be a violation against DePaul, so the point is going to go over to Fort Lee. (7-7) the score. Schulman again, almost a hook shot attempt inside. And that shot attempt goes too long. It's going to be a point for Fort Lee. And the Bridgemen with back-to-back points have now stretched the advantage to 8-7. Into the net, and now here's Fort Lee going on a run. So just as I had mentioned moments ago, DePaul done a good job of limiting the damage, not allowing Fort Lee to go on a sustained run. The Bridgemen have scored 3 in a row and now have taken a 2-point margin at 9-7. And they're looking to stretch things even further. Good diving effort in front by Lopez for DePaul. Schulman again in front. Eno will just get it over, almost close to the back line. Kept in, good volley between both sides. Great effort that time on the finish by Sofia Lopez with a kill. And Lopez draws DePaul back to within 1 at 9-8. Skinner will serve. Borisov. Dug out, though, by DePaul. Took a bit of a deflection off the top of the net. Eno. Good job by DePaul, fighting valiantly, and they drop it in right in front of Bella Plout. So after Fort Lee went on their 3-0 spurt, now DePaul answers with a 2-0 run of their own to pull back to within 1 at 9-9. Wong gets it over. Now DePaul setting up to try to retake the lead. Pinballing around and mishitting that time was Fort Lee, so DePaul has gone on a run here. The Spartans now take the lead at 10-9. Haley Skinner. 11 service points on the season coming into play today as she mishits that one as a service error. Goes into the net, 10-10 your score. Service back over to Bella Plout. Plout was the one who was serving and got on a roll near the end of the first set, then eventually allowed Fort Lee to bring home that opening set 25-20. Setting up Foster. That time, a little too much velocity there from Riley Eustick. 12-10 advantage now for the Bridgemen. Correction, 11-10. Just trickling. Can Fort Lee save it? And they can't. Pair of 11s here on the board. Knotted up here in set number 2. Jasinski will serve here for DePaul. She was the one who was serving at the very beginning of set number 2. Foster kind of mistimed her jump. didn't have an opportunity to just get it over. So DePaul trading the lead back and forth, and now they've recaptured the advantage at 12-11. Again, it was lopsided, 2-0 blowout win last year for Fort Lee. Much different this year as Bridgman struggling right now to recapture that advantage. They trail 13-11. A Spartan win here in the second set would force a third and final set. Good pop-up, and again, it went right into the ceiling, and now DePaul with their largest lead of the second set. That'll force Coach Ziemba to take a timeout to once again put together his strategy here to settle down his side. It's a lead for the Spartans here in set number 2. As you're watching, a 14-11 lead for the Spartans being developed. As Fort Lee, again, trying to find their way to a 5th consecutive victory on the season. They've won 4 in a row coming into play today, and all 4 in 2-set margins. DePaul Catholic coming in off a 3-set win that snapped a 2-set losing or a 2-match losing streak. And they're trying to pull off the upset here and get back to 500 on the season. Chinsky will start the serve. Foster, again, non-returnable that time. Foster doing a good job of getting that much-needed point after DePaul went on their sustained run. Pulls the Bridgman back to within 2 at 14-12. Let's see if Fort Lee can go on a run. Down the near side, popped up by Skinner, but no help from her teammates. Back-to-back points now for Fort Lee. They're back to within 1 at 14-13. Orasov was the one in front, or serving, I should say, and in front stood up was Foster. 15-13, back to a 2-point lead for the visitors. New stick into the net. Point for the Bridgman. 15-14. Drop shot in front, trying to cut into this 2-point deficit. Nice winner there. Mia Frankel cutting that across the court to the far side. Pulls Fort Lee back to within. Now I was correct. It is 15-15. Scoreboard operators have been a little slow to have the correct score at times here in the second set. Thought I might have been falling asleep at the wheel here for a bit, but that is never the case. Looks like the officials conferring with the books from both teams, whether or not it is in fact 15 all, or if it should be still a 15-14 margin in favor of DePaul. Still, it's taken some time to discuss matters at the scores table to see what the actual score should be. Right now, listed on the scoreboard is 15-15. It's kind of like what you see in the course of a basketball game, that sometimes if there's something being contended, they go to the score books and see Do each side have the same score? The thing that obviously caught my eye, I believe that this is the correct score at 15-15. But the scoreboard operator had it as 15-13, and then after that points went to 15-14 and then quickly made it back to 15. So after conferring with the books, it is a tie score, 15 all here in set number 2. So despite it being listed still as set number 1, it is set number 2. It's a 1-0 lead in sets for Fort Lee, and Foster again was not able to finish off in front. 16-15, back to the lead goes DePaul. Sophia Lopez will serve for the Spartans. Foster trying to win the point back for the Bridgemen. DePaul able to rally to it, and a nice fadeaway shot finished by Riley Mendoza. And DePaul with back-to-back points have now pushed their advantage to 2, 17-15. Bridgman setting it up. Borisov, perfect placement there. Just had enough elevation to graze it up and over the nets, and the lefty finishes in front for the points. Back to a 1-point deficit for Fort Lee, and it's going to be Bella Foster now serving. Their team trailing 17-16. Shulman try to push it over. Foster, drop shot to perfection. Back-to-back points by the Bridgemen. Fort Lee ties it up at 17 all. Foster again will serve. Service error into the net. Once again, the lead for DePaul at 18-17. Mendoza. Frankel got that one deflected. 18 all. It was deflected in front of the net on the DePaul Catholic side. Foster. Going backwards, Borisov, and had the placement right in front of the DePaul Catholic sideline. In that back right corner, Coach Brown saying, "My bad, that was all my fault," as I think he was probably telling his players to lay off it. That ball had eyes there, 19-18. Again, Fort Lee captures the second set. They win the match. Shulman gets it over. And that one going too long. They're going to say, is that a deflection? And they say the point does go over to DePaul. 19-19. So service and the point goes over to DePaul Catholic. As we're closing in on the latter stages of this second set, DePaul knows they have to find their way to winning the second set to keep hope alive of playing for a third. Fort Lee, nice move there by Sarah Wong, the sophomore. Wong dished out 14 assists in the last match. Leads the team with 74 assists on the season. Was not the facilitator there. She took it on her own. 20-19. Fort Lee back in front by 1. 5 points away from winning the match. Here a pin drop before that serve, and it ends as an ace. It ends as an ace in front of 3 different DePaul Catholic players. And Jeff Brown takes the timeout, feeling like this one's spiraling away from his team. It's a 21-19 lead now for Fort Lee as they're 4 points in and 4 points away, I should say, from closing in on their 5th consecutive victory of the season. So DePaul has had a good second set here. They've had their moments of brilliance where they've gone on sustained runs. But Fort Lee trying to have the finishing answer again. Again, this was a quick match last season, 25-16, 25-13. Much more contentious here this year. So out of the timeout, can DePaul get back into this one? A miss hit on the far side, and now Fort Lee grows their lead to 3, 22-19. Margin for error shrinking here for the Spartans as we get closer and closer to potential finish line. They cannot afford to give points away. I say that, that's another miss hit. Another point for Fort Lee. It's 23-19. At one point, DePaul was last leading when it was 17-15 after it was a tie at 15 all, and there was a brief stoppage to check the score. Fort Lee, though, has garnered the momentum in this one. Left behind, a little miscommunication. Fort Lee trying to zero in. Shulman has that deflect. And that's going to be the point for Fort Lee, and now the Bridgemen are at match point. So it should be 24-19. They haven't changed it. There's a whistle, and now it is up on the board. 24-19 is the score. A timeout on the floor. So Fort Lee is 1 point away from capturing this match. Again, on the horizon for both teams, DePaul will host Wayne Valley on September 22nd before hosting High Point on the 25th, and then they take on defending state champs Immaculate Heart Academy on September 26th in Washington Township. For Fort Lee, they will next be in action hosting Ramsey on the 22nd here from East Gym. Then they will travel to arch rival Cliffside Park on the 26th before starting a 3-match homestand on the 28th against Westwood. So match point here for Fort Lee as they will serve. And there it is, the finish of this match. Fort Lee victorious in set number 2 by a final of 25-19. They won the opening set 25-20. So eerily similar finish. Again, DePaul had a good thing going there in the second set, but eventually Fort Lee was able to have the finishing answer to improve to 5-1 on the season. So since opening up a loss in their opener against Fairlawn, Fort Lee has won 5 in a row and have done so in 2-set fashion in every one of those wins. DePaul Catholic with a loss will fall to 2-4 on the season. And we wish the Spartans the very best for the remainder of their year. So that'll do it for our broadcast coverage here from East Gymnasium. So glad that you could watch our first edition of Fort Lee girls volleyball action here in the 2023 season. For Dimitri Nanis and Renee Matisich, I'm Dan Long saying so long, and thanks for watching Fort Lee Athletics here on YouTube. Take care, everybody.